The following is produced by 5-Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
Shop till you drop. It may happen sooner than you think. In the last 30 years, the area occupied by shopping malls has multiplied by a factor of 12. Yet every year we wipe out 27 million acres of tropical forest, an area the size of Pennsylvania. Maybe those shopping malls should consider selling fresh air. Hi, I'm Corey James, and this is Today's Environment, where we tackle the topics affecting our Earth and examine the solutions that are making it better. Home sweet home. To Fred Flintstone, it was a cave. To Abe Lincoln, it was a log cabin. And to our children, it might be a super energy efficient structure made from recycled materials. We've come a long way, baby. Just watch.
Taming the frontier. Nothing characterized the American pioneer spirit more than a simple log cabin set out alone in the wilderness. But now, the once Wild West looks a lot like the long-tamed East, and the cabins that stretch from sea to shining sea may actually be the terrain of another new frontier. The challenge is no longer to settle the land. Today's quest is to preserve it. These experimental 21st century townhouses are part of a pioneering research project sponsored by the National Housing Endowment. Built by the National Association of Home Builders Research Center, these townhouses represent what's on the cutting edge of two big issues: alternatives to lumber and better energy efficiency. New things begin right at the foundation. This system uses panels cast to correct size and shape that are delivered to the site and lifted into place by a crane. They combine an exterior of reinforced concrete, an interior bonded with insulation, and even ribs for nailing drywall. This foundation was completed in 6 hours, cutting down on the labor costs. Until recently, almost all U.S. homes were framed with wood, but now advanced material like steel framing offers a way to preserve our valuable forest resources. The framing provides structural integrity, with 2/3 of the metal coming from recycled steel. Aerated concrete blocks like these are so light they can be lifted and put into place by a single workman. Honeycombed with microscopic air pockets, these blocks provide excellent insulation with remarkable features that resemble wood. They can be hammered and sawed with a surface that can be easily sanded smooth. Superior insulation performance is achieved through the application of modified urethane foam. It's sprayed into wall cavities, providing consistent, complete cavity fill, plus adhesion to cavity members. The foam reduces the home's energy demand and contains no CFC or HCFC chemicals. This exterior sheathing provides an environmentally friendly substitute for plywood. It's made with a Portland cement core material with a special glass fiber reinforcement and is one element in a system called the Exterior Insulation Finish System. The full system consists of 5 elements, one on top of the other, combining a decorative stucco appearance with high energy efficiency. Even the surface coatings contain no or very low amounts of volatile organic compounds. A low-odor, solvent-free paint called Pristine is used, which ultimately paves the way for safer living space. This environmentally friendly paint is offered in a range of colors, none of which releases VOCs into the atmosphere. By demonstrating these innovative ways to build townhouses, the NAHB Research Center is leading the way to a new world of home building, a world where the house that we live in can actually help sustain the home that we share.
Every year, America produces 25 million tons of plastic. That's about 10 pounds for every human on Earth. And only 1% gets recycled. We've got to do better than that. Get involved with Today's Environment today.
A little crack in your home can be a big money pit. As much as $13 billion worth of energy escapes through cracks, fissures, and gaps in residential buildings. Now, caulk and weather stripping don't cost much, but they sure can save you a lot. Here's more.
Another life is lost in the forest. The very materials we use to build our structures and shelters could make or break our quest for a more sustainable society. Let's get down to basics, building blocks. As children, they inspire visions that can grow into unforgettable skylines. Consider this, nearly half of the energy you use to heat or cool your home gets wasted. Can you imagine the staggering amount of air pollution, oil, and coal that could be saved simply by a better method of building? Many researchers and engineers have, and every day they advance building technology to conserve both resources and energy. One answer may be to go all the way back to the building block.
This polysteel form, marketed by Gallagher & Gallagher for United Polysteel Distributors, is approved by BOCA, the Building Officials and Code Administration, and is completely harmless to the environment, with no CFC or HCFC chemicals.
It even adds a layer of insulation to the interior and exterior side of the wall. Steel holds the form mold together and adds strength to the concrete. Recycled rebar running horizontally and vertically helps make the wall nearly indestructible.
Now, at first, I know that the idea of a new concrete wall may not inspire you to throw confetti or blow noisemakers, but structures built using polysteel forms can possibly cut a building's energy consumption by 70%.
Polysteel forms insulate so well because the styrofoam is on both sides of the concrete. This insulates from the outside weather, as well as keeping the temperature on the inside insulated from the inside wall. The concrete acts as a thermal mass inside the wall, which conducts the Earth's heat, or cold, up into the wall, which makes your heating and cooling system not have to work as hard.
The styrofoam EPS form is the most efficient form of insulation that there is. With an insulation on each side of the concrete, that'll give you a wall performance that will be equal to an R40 of a typical wood frame insulated wall system.
Buildings made with polysteel are virtually soundproof and do not appear very different from any other structure. But if they can reduce energy consumption so dramatically, the walls built with this new technology may help provide the foundation of a sustainable planet. In a moment, on Today's Environment, attacking pests and sparing the planet with biotechnology, plus turning waste to energy, next.
Flying insects can drive you buggy, but what price are we willing to pay to control them? Pesticides often turn up in our food, and that could end up killing us instead of the bugs. This next idea may be a good alternative. Let's watch.
Shoo fly, don't bother me, or so the song goes. But no matter how much whacking, slapping, and swatting you do, it often sounds like this. There must be a better way to control flies, gnats, and mosquitoes. Some form of these tiny prehistoric pests probably drove the monstrous Tyrannosaurus rex to distraction. But mosquitoes, flies, gnats, and other flying insects can do far more harm than ruining a picnic. Mosquitoes often spread diseases, and other insects destroy our food and fiber crops. In the past, humans attacked these pests with an arsenal of chemical-based pesticides. Some early sprays or applications polluted our groundwater, harmed wildlife, and in some cases, the residues on food increased human health risks. Still, flies keep on buzzing, cotton boll worms keep on eating our crops, and mosquitoes continue their human blood feast. Environmentally concerned researchers like these scientists at Abbott Laboratories constantly search for a better way to manage the pest problem naturally. They've created several very specific biological pesticides that only affect the targeted species. In this tank, bacteria grow that won't hurt humans, pets, birds, or even a fly, but will kill mosquito larvae and destructive crop pests. Bacteria that will kill mosquito larvae incubates in this tank, but this strain of microbe could only harm an ant if you drop the bag on it. You see, target-specific biological pesticides help manage a single species of pests, and their fallout can be completely harmless to humans, wildlife, and the environment.
Biological insecticides work as well in many cases as chemical insecticides. But probably more important, chemical insecticides usually kill everything in the field, where biologicals are much more specific and only take out the pest species. This leaves behind the parasites and predators, which do a very effective job of extending the period of control and also not disrupting the natural balance of the ecosystem.
Insect larvae, especially caterpillars, can decimate a field of crops, and mosquitoes and flies often spread many potentially fatal diseases like malaria and encephalitis to humans and livestock. Biotechnology may help us control insects without destroying ourselves and our environment. And if we can discover bacteria to pinpoint something as small as a gnat without harming anything else, well, then that may be something for humans to buzz about.
How about some good news? By recycling aluminum cans, in 1 year, Americans saved enough energy to power all the homes in New York City for 6 months. Keep up the good work, recycle, and get involved with today's environment today.
Don't feel guilty. If you reduce what you use, reuse what you can, and recycle anything that they'll take, well, then what's left over doesn't have to go to waste. Some people have found a use for the trash that's left over when you absolutely, positively must throw it away. Let's take a look.
Do you dare enter the gauntlet? If you're a toxin, a dioxin, or any other pollutant, you'll be sorry you did. Because advanced pollution control devices can now destroy emissions down to levels lower than a truck's exhaust pipe, and the ability to scrub out those gases may open the door for a new and very plentiful fuel: garbage. Nothing but trash?
I think not. You see, after everything recyclable has been picked, pulled, and yanked from the massive municipal waste, what's left is still not fit for this landfill. That rejected, unrecyclable refuse still deserves a remarkable new life as an energy resource.
That's right. The garbage that's not worth recycling can be worth a fortune in oil. This waste-to-energy plant, operated by the Montagnais Power Corporation, takes the most worthless waste and converts it to watts, amps, and volts. The mere thought of burning trash may sound like an environmental nightmare, but unrecyclable waste can be converted to energy and release less emissions than if a truck hauled it to a landfill. Unrecyclable trash could be considered a renewable energy resource, but that's not the only good news. It can be considered a very clean energy source. Modern waste-to-energy plants can convert the trash that would otherwise require too many resources to recycle into electrical power. And the required pollution control systems can ensure that the pollutants released from burning trash never reach the atmosphere. That's the gauntlet. After the trash burns and generates the heat for electricity, the exhaust fumes undergo a relentless onslaught of innovations to intercept them before they escape. Bag houses, flue gas scrubbers, and other state-of-the-art emission reduction technology can now wipe out any pollutants that might dare to enter the exhaust stream. Managed properly, our nation's trash currently puts 20 supertankers full of imported oil into dry dock and release less pollution than the trucks that pick up the waste.
Turning a negative into a positive. You could call it American ingenuity, or maybe sheer genius, or maybe it's simply survival.
Call it what you want, but when you turn on your lights, or your computer, or your air conditioner, well, you may want to call that pollution light energy a breath of fresh air. Household chemicals and used oil, a recycling update, plus the one word that conserves energy you need to know. Both stories next on Today's Environment.
It may be the best win-win situation in the world today. I'm talking about recycling. Not only does it conserve natural resources, it prevents costly and destructive pollution. From cans to chemicals, recycling helps sustain the earth and keeps it cleaner. Here's more.
Ah, the Jolly Roger, the scourge of the seven seas.
In the 1600s and 1700s, the skull and crossbones meant marauders, pirates, and buccaneers. Danger on the high seas. Today, that marking on household chemicals still means the same thing.
Only now, the threat to the seas and humans from hazardous household waste is far more dangerous to humans in the water than the rogue swashbucklers ever were. And used motor oil may be the single greatest environmental pollutant generated by a household.
You know, Americans love to change their motor oil themselves, but very often they don't know what to do with the used oil once they finish.
Don't dump it down a storm drain. Don't dump it on the ground. Don't throw it in the trash. Instead, take it to a recycling center. Used motor oil is one of the most easily recycled natural resources, yet every year over 200 million gallons of it ends up polluting our environment. One innovative program to stop this shameful waste of a natural resource now operates throughout the 9-county San Francisco Bay Area. It allows residents to call an 800 number for the address of the used oil drop-off facility nearest to them. The 9 Bay Area counties all tie into the same number. That identifies the most convenient way for residents to keep their oil out of the environment. By simply entering their zip code into the voicemail system, they receive a list of nearby recycling locations. Curbside pickup programs, local service stations, and other locations all accept used motor oil. Recycling oil reduces America's dependence on imported crude oil, and many don't even realize that the used oil they throw out adds up to 18 times the amount of the Exxon Valdez spill. Not only can nearly every drop of it be recycled, but that shamelessly wasted resource pollutes the environment and costs billions to clean up. The regular chore of changing your oil can never be considered complete until you properly recycle the used oil.
Because recycling oil by the gallon can sure add up to vital natural resources we buy by the tanker. Ever hear of the domino effect? That's when one thing leads to another, which leads to another. Simply by recycling a bottle, you save landfill space and energy. Now, saving energy conserves resources and reduces pollution, all from one simple act. Here's another energy-related idea.
Do you want to see this year's environmental MVP? Most valuable person? Well, take a good long look in the mirror. That's right, it's you. Each one of us can make a huge impact in the fight against acid rain, global warming, and smog. And every time you look in the mirror, that person staring back at you can be a major part of the planet's resource and energy conservation.
You can take that puzzled look off your face because you can accomplish these monumental feats with some very minimal effort.
Here's just one simple example. Make sure your home is properly insulated. Having the right amount of insulation in your home can reduce your home energy demand, and that conserves energy resources as well as cuts sulfur dioxide, NOx, and carbon dioxide emissions being released into the atmosphere from power plants. Added insulation like this fiberglass insulation made by members of the North American Insulation Manufacturers Association helps every dollar you spend on energy go a little farther. It's similar to a car with great gas mileage, only it's your home, and better energy efficiency can give you much more comfort per dollar while it helps sustain the planet. Fiberglass insulation can also help you add to the cause of resource conservation. Manufacturers of those insulating fibers often use recycled glass, up to 40% every year. Currently, 800 million pounds of tossed out glass bottles and jars and recycled plate glass find new life, making homes more energy efficient. That diverts 20 million cubic feet of waste from the landfills every year. The making of fiberglass insulation is considered the largest secondary market for recycled glass. The heating and cooling equipment operating in U.S. homes is responsible for nearly 20% of the carbon dioxide released each year. A home energy conservation program can result in immediate utility bill savings and long-term savings in the cost of cleaning up our polluted environment.
It's kind of hard to believe that simply by insulating your attic, walls, and crawl spaces that you can have such a positive impact on the environment. But you can.
Repairing our Earth won't be done by one Herculean effort. The fate of the planet we leave to our children depends on the little things you and I do every day. If everyone simply recycles and makes their home more energy efficient, our Earth will have a lot more resources and far less pollution.
I wonder if you knew that since 1988 there have been over 5,000 beach closures and advisories against swimming. One study alone estimated 58,000 illnesses a year were caused by swimming in the waters of one single beach. Now, if we keep dumping our waste in open waters, it won't be long before our 4 great oceans become one enormous sea of pollution. I hope this show gave you a jolt. There's many challenges to our environment, and there's a lot we can do to help. Join us again next time as we explore more environmental solutions on Today's Environment.
If you know of any interesting environmental success stories, call us at 407-997-9800. This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA. The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.